Welcome to the Gazette Sports Week, sponsored by 54 Fitness. I'm Dan Russman with Stephen Pistone. Steve, we're going to start talking about some Hammonton softball. Big week for the Lady Blue Devils. They won 3 games last week. Opened up, beat Hammonton 4-3. Blew out Clearview 10-0 up there in Mulca Hill, and then they came home and they beat Williamstown 7-6. Improves their record 13-4. I was at the Williamstown game. They had a lead in that one. Williamstown came back, tied it. It was 6-6 going into the bottom of the sixth. And Kayla Kalani had an RBI single that gave them that win 7-6. She had a very good week. Also, their pitching's been really, really well. Pitched very, very well this week as well. Ashley Scardino, Mackenzie Edward, the freshman, pitched very well. He's a team that's swinging the bats. They're coming in the week at 13-4. Big week though this week. They got some key Tri-County Conference games. But a team that really is setting themselves up for a real high seed in the playoffs and maybe a deep run.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. I mean they just showed off this week like how many ways they can beat you. It's you had a 10-0 blowout there against Clearview. You also had a pitcher's duel against Absegami 4-3, and then they won another one-run game against Williamstown. So they've really been able to put it all together this year, and like you said, it's been because of the pitching. Scardino and Edwards, they have been extremely reliable. They logged heavy innings last week, and their quality in all of their performances. You gotta love the balance this team shows right now, and I think they've really been able to go to that next level this season because of that pitching.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that always had a little bit of pop with players like Rodriguez, Kalani, girls like that. But now when you get the pitching in the mix, and they're going to be primed for a pretty nice run right now as we head into the final stretch.
Absolutely, and again, they took Kalani and Coach Shulman moved her out of the leadoff spot. She was struggling a little bit, put her in a 3-hole, bumped Remy Smith up to the leadoff spot because she's one of their better hitters, and it really worked out well for them. They did start with the Absegami game last week. 3 games with that lineup, 3 wins. So, Coach Shulman, mixing things up a little bit, and it paid off for them, and they looked real good. St. Joe's softball team, they played well last week too. Won 6 games last week. Really crazy, busy week for them. Came from behind to beat Woodstown 6-5. Then they go down to Buna. They win that game 6-4 in a game that was a 2-2 tie going into the 7th. Cape May Tech, they beat 11-1. They beat Middle Township 8-1, and over the weekend they beat Triton 12-5. Michaela Veneziale, the freshman, pitching really, really well right now. When she's on, she threw a great game down at Buna. Gave up a couple runs, but St. Joe was able to come back and get that win. I forget who drew in the winning run in that one, but great win for them. I mean, it keeps them in contention in that Cape Atlantic United division because right now they're behind Wildwood Catholic, who they play on Wednesday.
Right.
And Wildwood Catholic a little beat up. Emily Semino, their top pitcher, is going to be out. She's not pitching probably for the rest of the season. So St. Joe can make a move right now and put themselves right back in that race. This team's going to make. I think they're going to be a high seed in non-public B, and just like Hammonton, they're going to make a probably pretty good run in non-public playoffs.
Yeah, it's been an extremely successful season for softball in Hammonton with both of these programs. St. Joe, they continue to impress. I don't care who you're playing. If you can win 6 games in a week, you're doing something. So credit to those girls and the endurance that they showed last week, especially Veneziale.
Mm-hmm.
I think she pitched in 4, maybe 5 of those games. Gave them really quality innings that she's done for most of this season. And like I said, when you can add the pitching to go with the high octane offense, which St. Joe has had in the past, then you're really in business. And now sitting at 16-6, they're looking pretty good. But they still have work to do. Wildwood Catholic is a huge game this week, and they're going to try to boost that resume as much as they can before the cutoff, because this is a pretty good United division that they're playing in. But they are, I think, by far one of the top teams in that division. So it's been a great year for both of these teams.
Absolutely. We'll stay at St. Joe with the baseball team. They lost to Buna. Once again, they cough up a lead late in that game. It's been kind of a trend for them this year, something that they can't seem to escape. Can't finish games, really, is what it comes down to. They bounce back. They beat Cape May Tech 3-0, but right now they're going to have to start figuring out a way to win these close games and these games where they have leads and they cough them up, because I think the last time I saw the PowerPoints, they're sitting as like a 7 seed, which is really not where you want to be. Going in a non-public B, you want to maybe try and get a couple more wins, get some residual points, where you maybe move up into that top 4 or 5 in non-public B and avoid having to play a monster in the second round. They get Holy Spirit twice this week, a home and a home on Monday and Tuesday. Both games ended before this show is going to air, so those are huge games in the division for them as well. But they still have an outside shot at that. But the Buna game again, Buna scored I think 4 runs in the 6th to come back and beat them.
5 spot actually.
5 spot, yeah. So it's something where St. Joe just hasn't been able to close the door. They've been able to jump on teams early, get leads, and then they just can't seem to finish it off.
Yeah, you figure they probably left 4 or 5 wins,
4 or 5 wins
on the field with these late collapses. Crooked numbers here and there. Another 5-run spot last week against Buena, which was a killer loss because that was their first loss within the United Division, and sitting above them at 6-0 in the division is a Holy Spirit. Who, like you said, they had 2 games head to head before or after we taped this. A huge test for them. Also have a head to head versus Hammonton this week, who's still playing pretty well. But yeah, it's just you got to take advantage of these divisional matchups, and if you have a lead late, you got to seize it and you got to hold on to it. It doesn't bode well for their playoff outlook when they're blowing all these leads late, because you're going to run into some pretty high caliber teams who they might hang a 10 spot on you if you keep this up.
There you go. And then Hammonton's baseball team, we talked about it last week, how they got to try to avoid that slump what they did last year, late in the year. Tough week for them. I mean, they had their 9-game winning streak snapped. They lost 8-2 to Clearview in a game they were really never in. I mean, Steven Succio pitched well the first 3 innings of that game.
Yeah, fell apart.
Gave up a 5 spot, and then Hammonton got 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th when the game was pretty much decided by that point. Then they went down to Williamstown. They lose 7-4. Another game I think where they had a lead and they wound up losing that one. It's kind of a thing you don't want to see it happen again where they're going to fade down the stretch. I don't think they will. I think they'll bounce back this week with some winnable games. This team, you ran into a really good Clearview team. Clearview's in a Diamond Classic for a reason. They're one of the top 10 teams in South Jersey. Williamstown, again, solid team, but I mean, a game that maybe Hammonton probably should have won.
Yeah, I look at the Clearview game, and it's just a rare off day for Steven Restuccio. It was looking good until that inning where things kind of fell apart. And on the other end, Brandon Drapo was pitching a gem for Clearview. Yes. When you have that pressure on the other end, it might weigh on the other pitcher. Make him think a little bit extra about a given pitch and press a little bit. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but that's one you got to just write off. It's a good team. They got the best of you. Williamstown, a little bit of a letdown because they beat them 8-1 earlier in the season. Really couldn't get anything going until a 4-run 5th inning tied the game at 4. And then, unfortunately, they couldn't quiet Williamstown's bats. They exploded for, I think it was 3 runs in the 6th, and that was pretty much that was all she wrote for that game. So not a good time to go on a 2-game skid because they had pretty tough schedule earlier in the week. Schalich, Highland, both those teams have 11 wins. GCIT is not bad, and then St. Joe. I think that's a kind of a pick'em game where it could go either way because both these teams, there's a little bit of a rivalry, and obviously both teams are having decent seasons. We see what St. Joe is capable of, despite the issues. But so hopefully they'll be able to right the ship. Though I still think this is a good team that has a lot of upside.
Yeah, both the local baseball teams, they both play better than what the records will show.
Yeah,
I mean, St. Joe's 8-10, probably should be maybe a 12-13 win team at this point. Hammonton, the Clearview game really was the one bad inning, and a lot of weird stuff went on in that inning. It was a walk. I think Stephen hit a kid, 2 bunt singles in that inning. So, I mean, things just kind of snowballed on them a little bit, and it was stuff that, kind of some fluke things happened, and they didn't give up those 5 runs. When they won the game, I don't know. I don't know if I can go that far and say that because you said the Drapo kid was shutting them down. But, but for Hammonton, I think they can bounce back and make themselves some noise in the playoffs. That wraps up the first segment for local sports. When we come back, we're going to talk some track and field and a little tennis and golf coming up right after this.
If you're looking to buy or sell, call Ricky Noriello at Remax, with 2 locations in Williamstown and Mays Landing to better serve you. Call Ricky Moriello direct at area code 609-352-9476. That's 352-9476. Or email him at rickym.remax@gmail.com. Remember, if you're looking to buy or sell, call Ricky Moriello at Remax today. Stationery, t-shirts, and much more, they can design it and make it a reality. Gazette Print Shop will help you promote your business and spread your message. Give your marketing a new direction with GPS. Gazette Print Shop.
Welcome back to Gazette Sports Week, sponsored by 54 Fitness. We're talking a little Hammonton track and field. Both the boys and the girls last week, they lost to Kingsway, but some good performances in that meet. Victoria Massey set a new school record in triple jump. I forget it was 30-some feet and change. Hammonton swept all the jumps. Massey won the high jump. Christina Washington won the long jump. They swept the throws. Lexi Gardner, who's going to be with us a little bit, she won the discus and javelin. Maggie Sampson won the shot put. Field events really kind of pacing Hammonton's girls team right now. And on the boys' side, Daquan Murray continues to be really excellent this year. He won 3 events, and then he did real well at the South Jersey Open. I think he finished 4th in the 200 meters. So, for Daquan, another strong week for him. Hammonton will have the county championships are on Thursday this week, so they can maybe make some noise down there and get themselves set up for sectionals coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah, they're. I think the boys are especially in great shape, and I think it was evident in the South Jersey Open. Led by Daquan Murray, who just continues to improve and get better. He had 2 qualifying finals in the 100 meter and the long jump in the South Jersey Open. He also had 3 top 10 finishes, excuse me. Also 4th in the 100 meter, 6th in the long jump, 9th in the 200 meter. So, he really lit it up in a lot of events for them. And it wasn't just him. They also had Michael D'Agostino win in javelin and Dalton Cheney win in the triple jump. So, really nice all-around performance. And I think you can expect to hear a lot of these names come up in sectionals and maybe even districts after that. It's been a great season for them. Obviously the head-to-head meets have been tough at times because they play in a pretty tough.
It's just a tough league.
Yeah, Tri-County's tough. The girls, like you said, the field events continue to be their bread and butter. Victoria Massey, she's had quite a few weeks. Some great jumps in which she set school records. You mentioned this past event sets the new school record for the triple jump, and then before that in the I forget what classic what meet it was. Anyway, she also had a school record in the triple jump and long jump relays in that event. So, the girls, the story has been the field events, throwers especially. Lex Gardner continues to improve. But, I think you're going to see a lot of individual performances on both of these teams make some noise as we head closer to sectionals and districts. It's been nice to follow them.
And Victoria Massey, real good hurdler as well. She's
Yes.
One of the better 100 meter hurdlers.
She's been busy this year in a lot of events.
Absolutely. Hammonton's golf team, they only played once last week, lost to Clearview. But Olivia Stride got to play in the LPGA Golf U event. She shot a 39 in that, finished 1 stroke behind the winner, a girl from mainland.
Yeah, it came down to the last minute putt.
Came down to the last putt. So, great performance by her. She's had an outstanding year for them, her and the freshman, Noah Petrassi. Those 2 kids have been really excellent for Hammonton all year. They got a big one this week. They get St. Joe on Wednesday in the big rivalry match. So we'll see how that all works out. But again, real nice season for Hammonton overall, and I think they're going to maybe be able to make some noise at sectionals.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the loss to Clearview. This is a team that shoots consistently low. They had low as 149 against Delsey. So, Hammonton played their game. But unfortunately, this is a team that is really, really good. And, I think Hammonton is still going to have a shot to be in most of their matches if they can remain as consistent as they have. And it starts with, Petrassi. It starts with Olivia Stride. She looks like she is really has a really bright future for this program, only a freshman. She showed a lot in that LPGA event. That was 95 golfers from 25 different schools, and she finished second by 1 stroke, like I said, on a last-minute putt. So I think the future is bright for this program, and I am looking forward to seeing what they can do, this year. I think they're rebuilding, I guess you would say, but they're kind of playing with house money right now because I think they're a little bit ahead of the game right now. So it's been nice to watch.
And then a tennis team in Hammonton, they beat Clearview 4-1, beat Highland 4-1, lost to Middle 5-0. Joe Fondacaro, Connor Kopstick, each won twice. I think the doubles team, D'Amico and Paniagua also won twice during the week as well. So, nice finish to the season for them. They're going to wrap up the year, I think, this week. And they'll get an NJSIAA playoff match later in the week. They found that out on Monday, again, after we tape this. So we'll have to see how that works out. But, overall, you talk about rebuilding with golf, it's rebuilding with the tennis team as well. And they're starting to kind of turn that corner as some of these guys get that varsity experience under their belt.
Yeah, I think it's nice. We've kind of seen them take that next step over the past few weeks. 2 wins last week. They did have a loss to Middle Township, but they're 17-0, one of the better teams in South Jersey. So you can kind of write that one off, and actually you can learn a lot from playing a team like that because they're really talented. But other than that, they've been beating the teams that they should beat, and that's really all you can ask for from a team in their situation. I think this year has been a nice stepping stone for them and first-year coach Adam Prime, and it was good to see them finish on a little bit of a positive note. Hopefully they can carry this into next season.
Absolutely. And then St. Joe's lacrosse team, they still stay winless. They lose at Triton 10-1, lost to Absegami 16-0. I know they had a goal win in 2 or 3 this year. Doesn't look like they're going to reach that, I don't think. I know they had Triton later on this week again. They play Vineland later in the season. Paulus 6 earlier this week. those are. I mean, they did play Violent 10-6 in the first matchup, so we'll see if they can go down there and beat them later on in the season. But I don't know. These will be tough for them.
Yeah, I think that's the only one you could circle as your potential win against Violent. But we thought Triton was going to be a team that they could handle in their 3 matchups this year. Yeah, so far no good. They actually scored first in that game, but it was all Triton ever since. They scored 10 unanswered goals, 4 of which came from David Burns. It's unfortunate to see they've been outmatched for almost the entire season, no matter who they're playing. And I think the way the Triton matchups have gone, it's starting to look like that. I think it was a 3-win benchmark that Coach set. It might be looking a little bit like a long shot. But, they still have a lot to play for. This is a good group of kids, and, hopefully they can lay it all, put it all out there and maybe get one, maybe against Vineland, maybe against Triton, I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see where we go from here. It was a tough year back for the St. Joe lacrosse program.
Yep, and then that wraps up local sports. When we come back, we're going to talk with Alexa Gardner about some javelin throwing and some Hammonton girls tracks coming up right after this.
Go to Showcase Sports when you're looking for high school sports equipment and apparel, featuring gear with the logos of the Hammonton Blue Devils, St. Joseph Wildcats, and other high school teams. Of all the pizza joints in all the towns in all the world, go to Andy's Pizza and Ristorante. It's more than just pizza. It's a great place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Go to the place where locals and people from throughout the area love to eat. Hammy Award-winning Andy's Pizza is located in the Raspberry Run Shopping Center in Hammonton. Once you try Andy's, you'll always go back for more. Call 609-56-PIZZA. That's 609-567-4992. It'll be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Di Donato Family Fun Center is a beautifully renovated place that's fun for the whole family, featuring the Alley Restaurant, the Gutter Bar, Galactic Golf, video games, and bowling lanes.
Welcome back to Hes In Sports Week, sponsored by 54 Fitness. Joining us this week is Alexa Gardner from Hammonton Track. Thanks for coming up.
You're welcome.
I mean, pretty good season for you guys so far. I mean, as a team, the team's looking like it's pretty well ranked, top 20 in South Jersey. I mean, so I guess you guys got to feel pretty good about how the season's gone so far.
Yeah, we're really grinding it out now because championship season's literally starting this week. So everyone's been grinding out and pushing and trying their best just to keep going this season.
And of course, track and field is a sport where we get caught up on the individual performances a lot, and you yourself have had another very successful season throwing javelin and discus. I just want to ask you how you feel your throws have been going the past couple of weeks. She's pretty good numbers.
The marks have been decent. I mean, they're not as far as I guess I would say I have my expectations. I always come in with wanting to push myself really hard and tell myself, all right, you can do this, you can go farther. But I think it finally clicked. I think it was last weekend I hit 133 for jav, so that I was very happy about because I hadn't been hitting the marks that I wanted to, and then discus has been improving a lot on my part that I've been trying very hard to. So
yeah, I mean, you were talking about that before we came on about how you working harder on the discus this year. Because last year with the knee, you were kind of a little bit of a setback.
Yeah, that was kind of hard because you can only throw so far with a standing throw. So once you get your spin and you can actually practice it, because I think discus is the hardest to throw technically out of the 3. It's the easiest one you can foul on, which I'm having a problem with now that I just keep fouling all my good throws, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, it's been a grind.
Alexa, it seems like in a lot of head-to-head meets, the field athletes, including yourself, have really led the way. This last week's meet versus Kingsway was a nice example of that, where you guys didn't win, but the throwers and jumpers, everybody pretty much dominated. Do you feel like this group of field athletes is the most well-rounded that you've been a part of over the past few years? Because they've been pretty impressive over the past few weeks, yourself included in that.
I think honestly, since my freshman year, I know field events have been very strong. It's been a very strong suit on our team. I know throwers, we've been, as a group, we've been killing it in all 3 events, even though, I know shot put's not my best, but we're still killing it with, Maggie Sampson and Jane Iswanu. They're banging them out there. And then we're just, as a group, we're, pushing each other to constantly keep up with her because we need to get the points for the team, too.
Right.
So.
I mean, when you look ahead, like you said, counties are this week, so you can be pretty excited about that. I mean, you're looking to go down there and make some noise?
That's the plan. I mean, I won discus last year, so I mean, I got expectations to try to meet.
I mean, I guess you're pretty confident you can maybe repeat that, maybe win the jab.
I hope so. That's the plan. That's always the plan.
Well, I know Bridgeton always has some good throwers. But,
You know, obviously senior year is a big opportunity for any high school athlete. You know, you want to finish strong and, you know, go out on with a bang. So have you set any, you know, goals for yourself for the remainder of the season? I mean, for you, I feel like the bar is pretty high because you competed in the Meet of Champions as both a junior and a sophomore, obviously. So it's been a successful career. So as you look forward to the end of your senior year, I mean, just how high do you set the bar for yourself?
My goal when I came into the start of the season was to break the school discus record, which I believe is, I think it's 120 feet and I think somewhat inches. So I was like, all right, I need to hit 121, and then like I got that one because that was my goal for that. And for jav, I really want to hit 150 this year. That's like what I've been trying for. So I'm hoping that by the end of the season I can bang that out. I mean, I didn't even PR till states of last year, so it took me all season until I finally hit the mark that like I wanted to, and then.
Do you feel like you're on pace?
I am technically. I was like not happy with how my throws were, but my coach just like pointed out to me that I'm actually ahead of where I was at this point last year. So I was like, okay, thinking about it, I actually am on pace for how I should be performing. So.
So, and I mean, you came into the year, I think, is if not the top ranked senior in javelin, maybe second best, I think, in the state.
Yeah.
I mean, are you feeling that kind of pressure? I mean, to go out there. I mean, because you're one of the favorites now to win the whole thing.
Yeah, sometimes the biggest games I think anyone plays in any sport is the head games. Is always trying to like not put too much pressure on yourself, which sometimes I have a habit of doing. So it's just all about trying to calm yourself down and just enjoy what you're doing to be able to get the marks you want. Because if you just stop thinking, which thinking is very hard sometimes. Like if you think, you just don't do really well all the time. So if you just stop thinking, then usually they'll just come and you just have fun with it, and then the results will come as that comes.
Before track season, you got back on the soccer field. You know, last year obviously you missed most of the season with a knee injury. It must have been tough not being able to be out there. So I mean, how was it like to get back out there in net, where you had a pretty solid season? You had 164 saves in 19 games. The team went 10-9, I believe. So what was it like to get back out there this year?
It was amazing. It was still difficult because I was still recovering. Because I mean, I got my surgery in October last year.
It was a long recovery.
Yeah, well, I mean, I played my first game back 6 months after my surgery with my club team, so I was back quick, but I wasn't obviously 100%. So getting back to high school season, I was almost a year back in, so like it was a little bit better, and I had my teammates that were helping me out. But I just loved being back out there. Like it was really hard not being able to just have to sit there and watch, and like I tried to like help my teammates out and try to stay positive because they're all trying to bring me positive vibes, so I gotta send them back that way. But it was awesome to be back out with everybody.
But I mean, now that the soccer career is over now.
I know. That is a little difficult, yeah.
Has it been tough? I mean, to I guess you're so used to getting ready for that season. I mean, now you're not going to be doing it.
It was a hard decision to make, I guess, because I had other schools that I was looking at that possibly had both I could do, or it was just for soccer, or just for track. But it was kind of just like I came to an ultimate decision that I loved doing both, but I couldn't really have both for all the options that I had. So I picked Rutgers just because I love the coach, I love the school, it had the programs that I wanted. So it had to give something up, but it'll still always be a part of my life.
Right. Well, you know, at a big school like Rutgers, though, there's a lot of options in athletics. So have you given any thought to maybe doing, club level or anything like that in the fall?
Possibly, but I'm not sure like how that's gonna work with like my training that I'll have for like the spring, or if my coach will be okay with that. Like I mean, sometimes it happens where they just don't want to risk you getting hurt.
Absolutely,
of course.
Because obviously they don't want you to stay as healthy as possible. So
look what happened in high school. You never know.
Yeah, you do never know.
I mean, has it been tough for you? I mean, because like you say, you've had some injuries in high school, some setbacks. Has it been discouraging to you, or you kind of just look at it and say just another challenge?
I mean, everyone has their moments where they're like, okay, this just isn't good. Like you get your moments where it kind of you're just like, all right, this sucks. Like like what can you do? But then you just gotta tell yourself, okay, it happened. You gotta get through it and get your mind. You have to just change your mindset. Like I said, it's the mind games. It's you have to get in the right mentality that okay, this happened, but we can work through it. We can get back to where we were and get back to be even better than we were before.
And then back on the topic of Rutgers, I mean, obviously it's a great school. It's a big school, a lot of history. So, What are you most looking forward to out of that upcoming experience, whether it's related to athletics or not? Because, it's got to be a pretty sweet feeling for you right now.
Yeah, it was, I think the day I committed, the coach probably gave me the biggest hug I think I've gotten from anybody. He was so excited about it, and my family and I were so excited. And I'm mostly looking forward to actually the nursing school, because that's what I'm going for. So I'm really excited for that, because I actually got to go up there, I think it was last week, and go actually tour all of their nursing stuff and got to see all their simulation labs, which was really, really cool. So I'm really excited to do that. And then also the whole track side of things, I get to make a whole new boatload of friends and get to go to all these meets where he said most of them are in Florida, so it's the warm weather.
Yeah, in Big East you'd be traveling around a lot. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool. And a couple of weeks ago you got to throw it at Penn, which would be pretty nice. It's got to be nice to be part of an event like that.
I didn't throw as well as I wanted to, but I love the atmosphere. It's just, I even got to watch some of the running events, which I never get to do, because throwing's always so far from the running events, which it still was, but you got to see everyone run, and we got to see some people from Jamaica run, which was I'm sitting there, I could never run that fast, ever. And plus it was, warm, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, Penn Relays, Meet of Champions, there's been a lot of memories for you over the past few years, and that's just for track. So when you look back on your high school career, what would you say some of the main highlights have been, whether it was on the soccer field or on the track?
I think my favorite moment was states last year. Yes, I won, but for me, the whole part of that was that I PR'd. And I think because it was my first throw, it felt so good. And I knew I PR'd because I hadn't PR'd all season. I could see just because they sometimes have the marks out there where it said the 140 line. It was a little bit before it, and I was okay. I still knew I PR'd. And I came back and they said I hit 140, and I think I almost tackled my coach. So that was insane. And then my next throw, I threw even further than that. I hit the 140 line, so I think I was at a dead sprint to go get it and then dead sprint back, because my least favorite thing is when everyone knows what I threw before I do, because you have to run out there and they say it and you run back and everyone's okay, excited. I'm I don't know what I threw yet.
Right.
So that was probably one of my most favorite days ever, because I think I tackled KG, and she's not the tallest woman, and I love her to death. She's probably one of my favorite people ever. And then I'm sitting there running over to my parents, and that's the first day I met the Rutgers coach too, so he got to see me on that day. Nice. So I think that's where most of that all started. So that was that's probably one of my favorite days ever, actually.
Track highlights.
Well, thanks for coming up.
Okay, yeah.
And good
Congratulations.
luck
Thank you.
And when we come back on Gazette Sports, we're going to talk a little Sixers and Phillies, and it's coming up right after this.
Maplewood is known for their homemade spaghetti. Their comfortable atmosphere and seating with complimentary bread and salad, along with great service to make it feel like home. At Maplewood, you are sure to get that Italian family love.
Welcome back to Gazette Sports Week, sponsored by 54 Fitness. Now we'll do some national sports. Sixers faced elimination on Monday night. They fell down 3-0 to Boston over the weekend. Again, that came after we taped this, so we don't really know if they won that game and kept the series going, or if they got swept out. But it kind of looks like Celtics are going to move on. A little bit disappointing end, I think. I think a lot of the fans seem to be disappointed because I think they were really buying in on this team. I think you and I were too a little bit. Thought they had a chance to maybe get out of the East. But again, the Celtics just really look good.
They really have, and it starts from a coaching standpoint. Stevens just out mental up around the whole series. It's disappointing. I think a lot of people were high on the Sixers, ourselves included.
Yep.
But it's a humbling turn of events for a really young team that was kind of playing, I guess a little ahead of progress. And there's a lot to learn from this. They have ways to go. They're a young team, and they showed that youth in this series. Boston's a young team too, but at the end of the day, if you don't execute and you continue to cough the ball up and commit defensive miscues late in games, you're going to pay the price. Amazing defensive effort from Boston. They've held the Sixers to, I think, less than 110 points in every game in the series. You watch these games. The pace has been like molasses, and that's all been by design by Brad Stevens. You want to muck things up, slow things down, and just make them feel uncomfortable. And boy, have they been uncomfortable, especially with Ben Simmons, pretty much daring the guy to shoot the ball. In game 2, we went 0 for 4 only 1 point from the free throw line. And I had a bad feeling this was going to happen when I was trying to preview this series and assess the matchup. And sure enough, they had a really good game plan for Embiid and Simmons, and it led to a 3-0 lead. So, and another thing that makes this whole series really sting for the Sixers fans is the whole Jason Tatum, Markelle Fultz thing. Because on one end, you got the number 3 pick. I think he's averaging over 20 points a game right now. And, the guy that you traded isn't even getting on the field in Markelle Fultz. So who knows? We're filming this before Game 4. Maybe they'll throw out the game plan, get some new guys some minutes.
The series has really kind of exposed a lot of the weaknesses that the Sixers have.
It really has.
I mean, like you said, the fact that, you talk about Fultz a little bit. I mean, was that going to turn out to be a wasted draft pick?
It's too early to tell, I think.
A little early to tell, I think. But again, the fact that Ben Simmons has no kind of jump shot, and that's something that's something they really need to address, I think, in the offseason. We'll talk about it later. But I mean, because Boston's been able to, just like you said, just clog it up and force him to be a perimeter player, and he's pretty much shown that he can't be. And I mean, and it changes really the whole dynamic of how the Sixers operate. I think they're gonna have to address some needs in the offseason, try and figure out, maybe reconfigure the roster a little bit to make themselves, be able to combat that, because Boston's a young team. They're not going anywhere.
No, and they're going to be even better next year because they're going to have Kyrie Irving, they're going to have Hayward back. And this is a team that's going to go hard after guys like, I think, Kawhi Leonard. You might hear DeMarcus Cousins' name come up. This is a team where they have that young core, but at the same time, they're going to be very aggressive in the free agent market. And if you're the Sixers, you have to stay competitive, because this is a rivalry that has a lot of history, and I think it's going to be a rivalry that you see a lot of matchups going forward, because the Sixers are going to be back, but they have a lot to improve on, and I think we've seen that.
I think you hit it. I mean, you're looking at the two teams that over the next 4 or 5 years are going to be the class of the Eastern Conference. Are going to be Boston and Philadelphia. So we're going to see how it all plays. That's going to be fun to watch. Move over to the Phillies a little bit. Rough week for them. They fall into third place behind the Mets and the Braves.
Mets, actually, a game out of first.
Actually, their game out of first, yeah. Mets dealing with some injuries. The Phillies, kind of, I think, what we expected out of them this season. I mean, they're going to have their highs and their lows.
Most of the division is playing down over the past 2 weeks. That has benefited the Phillies because they haven't played well, but they're still in it. It's a deadlocked division, pretty much 1 through 4. Even the Marlins have come on strong, as you saw in the head-to-head series. Yeah, got all over Jake Arrieta in Game 1. He's been really good. I think he had 18 consecutive starts of 3 or less. They hit him for 6 and 3.2 innings. Didn't have his best stuff. They did salvage 1 game in that series. I think it was the rubber match. Zach Eflin. I'm sorry, it was Aaron Nola that won the Phillies' lone game in that series. And for the second start in a row, did a really good job at making in-game adjustments. In his last start against the Diamondbacks, I think it was, I think they hit him for a couple runs in the first 3 innings, and he didn't allow anything ever since. In this one, he allows a couple hits, a walk in the first 2 innings, and then he retires 17 batters in a row. So, the Phillies are going to go as far as the starting pitching takes them. We saw some good performances. We saw some bad performances. It was nice to see Vince Velasquez bounce back against the Nationals on Saturday after he had 2 rough starts the week before. And with the starting pitching, you also have to talk about the relief pitching. And I don't think it could have looked any worse than it did on Sunday. The Phillies are getting dominated by Max Scherzer, 16 strikeouts in, I think it was 5 and 2/3 innings. Remarkable performance by him. But when you have that many strikeouts, it runs up your pitch count. So he has to leave after, I think, 111 pitches. And the Phillies jump all over the Nationals bullpen, jump out to a 4-1 lead, and then it just falls and unravels in the 8th and 9th. Luis Garcia, Hector Neris, and Tommy Hunter, fresh off the disabled list, couldn't hold that lead, and really tough pill to swallow with that 5-4 loss. But they're still in it, and they got some big games coming up against the Giants, who I think are right about in the same record as they are. And then the Mets, the division leader. That's going to be a really big series to end the week.
Yeah, the Mets team that kind of is dealing with a lot of different things. I mean, Jacob deGrom hyperextends the elbow. He's on a DL for 10 days. He'll miss that series. They designate Matt Harvey. It looks like the Dark Knights days are over in New York.
What a crazy,
they're gonna
crazy
ship
fall.
him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a guy that, I mean, you just couldn't put together after the couple surgeries that he had,
Mm-hmm.
and really has never been the same since there was thoracic outlet surgery on his shoulders.
Not a good track record.
No.
Pitchers coming back from that.
No, absolutely not. So, yeah, but again, that wraps up national sports. When we come back, we're going to close the show with the Final Five. It's coming up right after this.
54 Fitness is the gym that has everything you need. From various workout equipment, treadmills, to many weight machines, 54 Fitness will get you in shape.
Welcome back to Gazette Sports Week, sponsored by 54 Fitness. And now we're going to wrap up the show with the Final Five.
Both local teams, baseball teams, struggled last week. Which one has the best chance to bounce back this week?
Tough to say because they both have pretty tough schedules this week. I'm going to go with Hammonton. I think just because I think they're a little bit better right now. I think they're a team that kind of is. I think they're going to be able to put last week behind them. Start fresh on Monday and really have an opportunity to come out and they get a really good Shalleck team. You talked about it earlier. But I think they can beat them. I mean, St. Joe should have beat Shalleck earlier in the year. I think Hamilton's going to take care of them, and I think they'll come through this week and set up that showdown at the lake on Saturday night when they host St. Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Not only is Hammonton a little bit of a better team, but I think their losses last week were a little bit more of an anomaly than St. Joe's, who have suffered from that big inning late again and again. I think Hammonton has a little bit of an easier schedule. St. Joe, as we said earlier in the show, they had to play Holy Spirit back-to-back earlier in the week. That's a team that's first place in the division and is undefeated against Cal opponents this year, or Cal United opponents, so it's going to be tough. And then they also have to go head-to-head with Hammonton. I think Hammonton probably has the edge in that one. So, Hammonton's schedule is no cakewalk either. Shalleck, Highland, GCIT, but I think they bounce back from that 2-game skid and win probably 3 close, well-pitched games.
On the other hand, the softball teams are playing very well. Which one looks the strongest as the state playoff cutoff approaches?
I'm giving a slight edge to St. Joe on this one. I think they play in a significantly more challenging division than Hammonton does in the Cal United, and they've looked good in the head-to-head matchups so far, I think. With St. Joe, they've really been led by an impressive offense, averaging 8.6 runs per game through the first 22. And this isn't a knock on Hammonton. I think they've been great also this year, especially on offense. But St. Joe's a little bit more pop, and they've been able to do it against a little bit more challenging of an opposition this year. So I think they're primed for the deeper run as we head into the final stretch.
Yeah, I agree. I think St. Joe's playing a little bit better than Hammonton right now. Not by much, though. I mean, but you said, for all the reasons you said, I mean, St. Joe, Michaela Venezial, the freshman, is throwing very, very well for them. When she's on, she's very tough to beat. And they score runs. I mean, this is a team that is never really out of a game because their line is pretty strong 1 through 9. And I think they're able to to bury teams when they have to. And they showed it against Buena last week when Buena came back, tied that game. And I think everybody thought Buena's got the momentum now. They're going to find a way to win. And St. Joe came back top of the 7th, scored 4 runs, and wound up pulling that game out. And they really showed you what they can do. So yeah, I would say St. Joe's maybe a little bit ahead as the state playoffs start coming up.
Which local track and field athlete do you think is having the best outdoor season this spring?
That's a tough one. There's a lot of them. I'm going to go with the boys. I'm going to go Daquan Murray. I think Daquan, even though maybe he's not winning as many gold medals as say like a Lexi Gardner or a Victoria Massey are, I think Daquan's really has taken the success he had in the winter season and it's really translated well to outdoor. To where he's become one of the better runners I think in Group 3. I think he's going to make a lot of noise at sectionals in a couple of weeks. I think he's a kid that can maybe get himself. Maybe not going to win an event, but at least get himself on a medal stand to where he can maybe get to states and maybe even to the meet of champions.
Yeah, there's a lot of players to pick from in this one, but I'm going to go with Victoria Massey for the girls team. She's been on several school records, as I said in the previous weeks. A few weeks ago, part of the school record in the long jump relay, triple jump relay, and just this past week, as we talked about, she had the big 35 feet 4-inch triple jump to set the school record on her own individually. And it hasn't been just one event, She's also been a very good hurdler, as you said, a little bit of a Swiss Army knife for this team. She's been able to do everything for them, and it's not just this year. She's had a very nice career for them, and I think this has been the culmination of it. So, she's had a great season, and I think that's who I've been impressed by the most this year.
Looks like the Sixers playoff run could be coming to a close this week. What is their biggest need this offseason?
I think they need to make a big splash in the free agent market. You want to bring in a big two-way player who can, hit a clutch shot late. If they can't beat Boston without Kyrie and Hayward, then you're probably not going to have a shot next year. I mean, this was their shot to go on that run, and I think they have as we see now, they have ways to go before they can compete with teams like Boston and maybe even Cleveland as well. Speaking of Cleveland, LeBron James is the one guy that a lot of fans are clamoring for them to make that big splash with. But there's going to be a lot of teams going after him, so that's going to be a hard guy to land. There's also guys like Kawhi Leonard who are going to be available for trades this year, but that's going to require a big package. I think you'd have to give up the lottery pick that they have this year, maybe a guy like Saric and even Fultz as well. You don't know if they're going to want to be able to do that. But that's what I think the ultimate goal should be this offseason. You have a nice 1-2 with Embiid and Simmons, but I think it's clear that they're going to need a third option who can kind of put everybody on their shoulders and hit that big shot when a lot of things otherwise aren't going well for them. It's not new. We've had big threes winning championships dating back to 2008 with the Celtics. So I think the Sixers, their brand of basketball needs a little more polish before they go to that next level, and it's going to require hiring some new faces.
Yeah, I think they need a legit shooter on this team. A guy who's going to be able to bury perimeter shots and not allow Boston to put three guys in the middle, so that Ben Simmons can't drive and play the way he plays. Because to me, while you can definitely take Simmons and work on his shooting, I don't think the guy's ever going to be a great shooter. I think he might turn himself into a decent shooter, to be acceptable. I think they need to go out either through free agency or through the draft, and this might be a year in the draft where where you said they have a lottery pick this year, or maybe you got to vary off the process a little bit instead of taking the best player available, which is kind of the way I always think of in the first round of a draft for any sport. I think they may have to draft based on need here. Maybe you got to draft a guy higher than he should be drafted. You got to take a stretch on a guy or something like that. But I think you got to get at least one or two players in because right now, JJ Redick, I guess, would be considered your shooter, but I think he's more of a bench guy. I think his role should be coming off the bench. I think Covington's role should be coming off the bench as well.
I agree.
Those two guys. So I think if you can find two players to replace them in the starting lineup, I think now you got a nice maybe starting five. Maybe Fultz can develop a little bit. You find out what he has. But yeah, I definitely think their biggest need right now is you got to get somebody who can consistently hit a 15 to 20 foot jump shot.
We're a little more than a month into the MLB season. Who are the early leaders for MVP in each league?
For me, when you look at the National League, I think it's kind of tough. There's some guys having real good years. I like A.J. Pollock with Arizona. I think they have the best record in the National League coming into the week. This is a guy, I think he's leading the league in home runs, which is kind of surprising because he's not really known as a home run hitter. I think he's also a guy who, I don't know if he's in his walk year or not, but he's finally healthy. He is a guy who had some elbow issues. He has been hurt a lot. Can run the bases real well. He's got a lot of speed. I don't know if he's going to be able to sustain it through the year. I think right now, second week of May, I think he's maybe your MVP. Not sure he's going to be the MVP, second week of July. We'll have to see. In the American League, one guy who I think can sustain it through the whole year is Mookie Betts with the Red Sox. I think we've seen the last week what that guy's been able to do. I think he's got like 6 or 7 home runs this week. I think he leads the American League pretty much in everything. When you look at the offensive categories, American League's going to be tough though. Aaron Judge is having a huge year. Mike Trout obviously is going to be in the MVP mix, and he's having a monstrous year right now too. Off to maybe his best start ever. So it's going to be tough. But to me, if Betts can stay healthy, and it's a question mark because he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's got a shoulder issue right now. But I think if that guy can stay healthy and get himself 650, 700 at-bats, he's going to put up some monstrous numbers this year.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on the Betts pick. This guy's been phenomenal this year, and it's no surprise if he finished twice in voting a couple of years ago. He's got some of the quickest hands I've ever seen. Pitchers try to go high inside on him, and he puts it in his seats. It's been a remarkable season for this guy. 2-3 home run games already on the season. Leads the league in home runs, also leads in runs scored. Only 13 strikeouts in 108 at-bats. The guy just doesn't miss. He just makes contact almost constantly. Also playing great defense in right field. So you don't want to talk about a 5-tool player like A.J. Pollock. Mookie Betts fits the prototype perfectly, and I think if he puts it together and then he stays healthy, that he is probably a lock to win this thing Trout's going to be there, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Betts. In the National League, we talked about Pollock being in a walk year. The ultimate walk year is Bryce Harper, who's probably looking at the richest contract in MLB history if he can stay healthy and continue doing what he's doing right now. You know, he's got 12 home runs, 28 RBIs, leads the league. Also has an NL high of 39 walks, doing a good job at working counts and not always swinging for the fences. You know, I think actually led off against the Phillies this weekend and did pretty well in that role. So this is a guy that won it in 2015 with 42 home runs, 99 RBIs, an 11.09 OPS, and a 330 average. I think he's a safe bet to eclipse at least 3 of those stats this year. And if he does, I think he'll be your almost unanimous NL MVP.
Okay. All right, what's another edition of Gazette Sports Week. Before we leave, though, I want to just comment a little bit because I know sports community in Hammonton lost 2 pretty impressive people the last couple of weeks. Chris Sacco, a little leaguer, was in a car accident, lost his life a couple of weeks ago, and then we lost Don Stager earlier this week. And so for Don, I knew Don for 20-something years, and he was a great guy. Nobody associated with basketball in Hammonton wasn't influenced in some way or another by Don Stager, so he's going to be really missed. And again, Chris Sacco, I was at a memorial service they had over at the Little League last week. They did an outstanding job with that, and he's going to be remembered there. A lot of people came out to support that. It kind of really shows you, what the community here in this town is when it comes to sports and how they kind of bond together over things, over tragedies like that. So again, just condolences to their families, and we wish them all well in the future. And again, that wraps up another edition of Gazette Sports Week. So be sure to check us out next week.
Back pain? See Doc Manny today. Dr. Emmanuel Sanfilippo is a certified chiropractor and sports practitioner. With more than 25 years' experience, he knows what you need to feel like yourself again.